Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Front Office U podcast. My name is Ryan Carney. Excited to be hosting today's episode. It is a special Throwback Thursday episode for you all today. We have a former guest rejoining us today. It is Coach Jeremy Blumes of the Ontario Junior Reign. First podcast was so much fun back in 2024. If you guys didn't check that one out, definitely be sure to do so after you're done listening to this one. But we love that conversation. To sum things up, Jeremy actually gave me one of my first opportunities to work in hockey operations and has been a great mentor to me in my career and is doing great things in the junior hockey space, which I know is a great avenue towards getting experience to work in sports and work in hockey. So super grateful to have you back here today, Coach Blumes. Thanks for reaching out and joining us here today.
Happy to be here. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of updates, a lot of things to update the listeners on that we'll kind of dive into as we get along. But I think to start off, I wanted to kind of hit on a couple of key points that I remember us talking about at the last podcast when we had you on. And one of those kind of key things and topics that came to mind for me was kind of the structure of a hockey program and how you kind of set everything up. And the Ontario Junior Reign, they've come a long way. They've had a ton of success here in recent years, and that was one thing that really kind of stuck with me, Coach. That I want to kind of hit on, like that scheduling piece. Getting involved with the community. What are you guys doing for off ice strength work? How much are you allocating for practice time? What drills are you running? The video, like there's so many different things that kind of make up a hockey program, and you're trying to sell that, to these potential student athletes. So, how would you kind of summarize, like, what is the structure of the program for the Ontario Junior Reign, and how have you made some tweaks and improvements along the years to make sure that it's putting yourself in the best position to have success out there when those game days hit?
Well, on the theme of Throwback Thursday,
Yeah.
year one, when you joined me, I was offered the job the middle of July, and they hadn't signed a single player, and they were an expansion team. So there really was no structure. Um, a few things appealed to me. My wife was from Texas, so being closer to home for her. Um, Northern Saskatchewan, where I coached the year prior versus a year in Southern California in the winter. No disrespect to Northern Saskatchewan. And then the opportunity to make a program my own. That got me really excited. So that first year, the structure was kind of winging it. You were a huge part of the success we had, Ryan, right? And that second half, I can't remember what it was, but we ended up going, I think, like 13-1-1 in the last stretch to make playoffs on the last night of the regular season to get in, which, um, I mean, let's face it, we were like the bad news Bears to start, and we sort of fine-tuned things and moved things around, and um, so that was year one, and then I think looking at where we're at today, there is a whole lot more structure. Something my dad always said to me was surround yourself with good people. And uh, this year, I won the Coach of the Year award, but I look at that like it's a team award. It really is a team award. And I took my dad's advice to heart, and I have an unbelievable staff. Eric Phillips is a great assistant coach, and he's great on video. And you being my video coach before, you know, I can be pretty demanding. I can attention to detail is important, and Eric knocked it out of the park in terms of the video and then also um, the on ice piece. And then we have Kevin Clark, Mike Weekly, both experienced hockey guys. We have a great goalie coach in Reed Kinsey who works with Kevin BX's program at Fairmont. Uh, Tony Vargas does a beautiful job with our strength and conditioning and our workouts. Jenna Janati and the whole compete staff are the best athletic therapists we have, I've ever experienced. Typically a guy has a 6 week injury, they listen to Jenna, they're back in, 2 to 3 weeks sort of thing. We added Dylan Ing, who's a great equipment manager, loves the tech, loves talking hollows, and just a tech guy, like born to be an equipment manager. So when you're talking about structure, um, I, I really think it comes down to the people, and we've got just a great group of people all pulling on the rope in the same direction. And I think when you have that kind of staff that's dedicated and in it for the right reasons, you end up having favorable results. Speaking a little bit more to the structure, I have my BEd to be a teacher. Coaching's a whole lot more fun. I look at this like it's as much about becoming a better player than as becoming a better person. So, a typical day, once we're on the ice and once we're in the gym, at least once or twice a week, we get the guys out in the community. So this year we did a road hockey rules program at a couple different elementary schools. We worked with the USO, the United Way, a couple different animal shelters, Second Street Hooligans. Guys really like that. The more time they spend in the community, I think, not I think, I know the more time they spend in the community off the ice with one another, the more it translates to caring about one another on the ice. And the results prove themselves. We won the division final this year, went to nationals for the second time in 3 years. Um, the team we played was a Fresno Monsters team that extremely skilled, a lot of 20-year-olds, probably more skilled and talented than us, um, objectively speaking. But when it's a 3-game series and it comes down to winning one-on-one battles and blocking shots and that care, maybe it sounds silly, but the work we did at Second Street Hooligans herding goats, I think translates to uh, managing the gray zones when we're protecting a one-goal lead. Um, so I think the structure, the structure is a combination of doing it for a long time, having a great staff, and yeah, I guess the experience. I'm not going to say it gets easier year after year, but um, I've been doing it. What is it now? I wouldn't say I'm old, Ryan, but I'm definitely experienced at this point.
And hey, that's a good thing. That's what people want to play for a coach like that that knows what they're talking about and has been through it and been through the grind. And I totally agree with that. Even thinking back to when you kind of first started talking there about kind of that first season, like I remember we had a road trip up to Utah, and I think we lost our first two games, but we won that last one in Provo, I want to say, and that bus ride back, I still remember it. Everybody was loose, everybody was fun, having a good time, and it's like, man, we gotta do this more often. We gotta win together more, and next thing we know, we're going on a big stretch and getting into the playoffs on the last day of the regular season. So without a doubt, all those things translate, and I totally agree that you may have you can debate the quality of rosters, but the buy-in from a group of guys and into a program and what's being said and what's being spoken, that totally translates into fundamentals on the ice too, like you said, with understanding when we got to go, when we got to sit, when we need to sit back and block shots, or when we need to go on the counter attack. So I think that's so awesome that that's obviously something that you think about and instill that into the group of guys that you have year in year out. And I think along that line too is you kind of have a clear cut for values. And you mentioned kind of your work ethic and style in terms of what your expectations are. But I think holding guys accountable, and there's certainly a way to do that, and giving them credit when they deserve it, but also telling them when mistakes need to be corrected, because I think that's such an important part of it too, that hey, everybody's going to make mistakes, but we don't want them to happen 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times over the course of a season. So in terms of how you're able to kind of hold the team accountable, what would you say that you've learned over the last couple of years that have kind of helped you in that aspect of things in running the program with the junior A?
Early in the year, after training camp, so we put everybody through their paces and figure out who wants to be here. We sit down as a group and talk about what we as a group want the expectations to be, or what they ought to be. And then it's not Jeremy's rules, it's, hey, these are our rules. And then my job as the coach is, hey, you exceed expectations, there's a reward. You fall short of expectations, there's consequences. Um, and that isn't necessarily a linear process. And that's where I think being experienced, not old, Ryan, but experienced, that's that's where it's really important, where um, we all have ownership. We all understand, hey, these are the expectations, and I think one of the things that is a strength of our programming is it's a culture of compete, where guys know, here's our game cards. I'm not married to any one of these lineups, and I mean, just taking one, you'll see there's, guys moving up and down and all that sort of thing. And I'm not married to the game card by any means. We have a conversation as a staff between periods, as who's going and who needs a bump and who doesn't. And that being said, you also need to be patient and allow that chemistry to develop, and you can't always be messing with your lines, but guys know, you're only as good as your last rep in practice, your last lift in the gym. All that stuff you do in the community goes into consideration. It's not, who's going to score the most goals is on line one. And guys know, hey, if I'm competing, there's going to be that reward. If I'm falling below expectations, there's going to be consequences. And I think that that's a big part of it. You mentioned that road trip to Utah. I totally forgot that, but once you mentioned it, it was Zach Stagnis on a 2-on-1 that scored the GWG, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
Still something that I think about for sure. And hey, it can be like those little moments. Like, it was kind of a grind of a road trip, long way up there. I remember my car got smashed into when we were on that trip, and I come back and I'm like, what is going on? But I didn't even care because of how much fun we had on that trip back. And I think those are all such great points that you talk about when you talk about kind of setting that expectation at the start of the year and then saying, hey, I can hold you guys accountable because this is what is agreed to for the team. This is what our team makeup is going to be for this season, not what happened 3 years ago, not what happened last year. This is what this team's makeup is, for this season, and I think that's so great that you're able to hit on that. And you touched on kind of the success of the team too, winning the Pacific Division for the second time here in the last 3 years, but also now kind of moving forward a little bit, elevating to NCDC Tier 2 status, also bumps the Sabres to now be kind of the affiliate team for the junior reign. Why don't you talk a little bit? How did that kind of all come up? What's kind of the excitement level and bumping up here to tier two, and how did that kind of all unfold from you as kind of overseeing the entire program?
Yeah, there's been a lot of moving parts. There's been a lot of conversations. Bottom line for me is, uh, this is the highest level of junior hockey west of the Mississippi, where, my experience coming from Western Canada, um, a guy from Calgary or Edmonton, they know, hey, I can go play in the Alberta Junior Hockey League, and that's a great Tier 2 league, and there's going to be great opportunities coming out of the AJ, SJ, and now, I mean, previously California kids, they could play Premier, but realistically, they could go play in the North American Hockey League, they could go play NCDC, but all those locations are east, Massachusetts, Maine, Illinois, and for me, the opportunity, and there's a ton of great hockey players. There's a ton of skilled, talented, intelligent hockey players right here in the state of California. And the thing you see is typically after their 14, 15-year-old year, they head out east, or they go play for one of the three AAA teams in a state of, what is it, 35 million people. Well, I mean, Calgary has four AAA teams in a city of 1.5 million. So there's a lot of real good hockey players that don't have the opportunity to play high level hockey, where now with the NCDC being here in the state of California, it's an unbelievable opportunity, for homegrown talent to stay within the state. The other thing is, yesterday the USHL announced they're planning to expand to the West Coast, which I think is is huge. So I think that's my guess is that's probably a year or two away. Um, I think the USHL is recognizing, hey, this is a market that we really ought to be in. Um, for me, it's really it's a huge positive that the opportunity to play tier two hockey now exists on the West Coast, and it's an option for all these kids that in the past have headed east.
Totally, totally agree, and it's great to see the continued growth of the game of hockey, of junior hockey, and kind of those southwestern markets, and Ontario Junior Reign just kind of adding their name to that list as well. And I think kind of on that same note, you talk about the USHL expanding, out west, and we'll see how that kind of unfolds here over the next couple of weeks and months. But on the same level, there's been so many changes that have impacted junior hockey, and as players kind of filter into college hockey as well, in recent years, allowing the CHL access into NCAA, and also the changes now in the NCAA with the proposed 5-for-5 rules, which certainly will impact the junior hockey landscape. But for you, coach, I know that a big pride point for you is seeing those players move on to end up playing college hockey, whether that's Division 3, ACHA, whatever it is, U Sports in Canada. How do you kind of forecast some of these changes? What's kind of your perspective as someone who works in the junior hockey space and seeing all of these changes from afar that are happening in college hockey here over the recent couple months?
Well, Ryan, if I had a crystal ball,
I'm
if I
surprised you
had
don't, honestly.
I think that all the changes are actually going to end up being a real positive once the dust settles, and I think that that'll be probably a couple seasons from now, because realistically, guys are going to sort of have an idea of what their track is, whereas before, I think guys were playing the BCHL because they didn't want to sacrifice their NCAA eligibility, and I think now earlier on, families are going to have a better understanding of the level. Now, there's always going to be climbers. There's always going to be guys dropping. But I think end of the day that there's a clearer path. And like I said, when the dust settles, I think families are going to have a better idea of their track. Um, I get asked a lot about, tell me about this league, tell me about that league. The best advice I can give a family is, do your homework. I think that there's great teams and great operators, and there's, not so great teams and not so great operators. And I think it's more important the fit and the program than it is the league or the level. Um, and I think the best way to determine, hey, where do I project to play from one team or another's, view that team's alumni. Like there's so much information out there that, you can go to a team's EP page, look at 5, 6 guys. Hey, where do they play? With the OJR, their 20-year-old year, and where are they playing when they're 23, 24? And a point of pride for me is, hey, the 5 years we've been here, there's more than 40 guys that have gone on to play higher levels of junior college. We even have a few guys playing pro. Another point of pride is, Jackson Wade is going to U of L and he's going to be a teacher, right? Aiden Zotner's been playing for the USC Dinos baseball team, right? It's not always. That's another part that I think people need to understand about junior hockey is it's as much about the journey and the connections and the friends you're going to make and those experiences as it is an means to an end in terms of education.
Yeah, I think that's so well said, and I think it continues to emphasize how you do a great job at keeping in contact with your former players too, and wanting to see them succeed in all aspects of life, even after they're done getting through the program, and those relationships are so critical. And yeah, I think Aiden Zotner and I still have the LeBron versus Michael Jordan debate on a daily basis in our
Jordan.
Instagram
It's
DMs.
Jordan.
So yeah,
It's Jordan.
I'm glad you say that because let me tell you, Aiden Zotner is not on the other side side, he's on the other side of that debate. So we have that conversation on pretty much a daily basis, and we still keep in touch on fun stuff like that too, which is so much fun, and makes doing what we do for a job not feel like work so often, which is great too. And kind of on that note too, some other news and updates since we last had you on, including your responsibilities now for St. John Bosco Prep, U18 AAA hockey. Would love for you to just be able to hit on for our listeners a little bit. What does that kind of move represent for you as you've kind of started that this year, and how does St. John Bosco kind of fit in with the Junior Reign and the San Diego Sabres programs here?
Yeah, so Thomas Kapusta is the coach of that team. Thomas is a unbelievable person, unbelievable coach. Oilers draft pick, played pro for 20 years, played in the Olympics. Czech guy has has a really unique vision and manner about him, and I've learned a lot from Thomas. The 5 years that we've been a part of the same organization, the Ice Realm organization. Um, the middle of January, the opportunity to be the president of that program came up, and when I talked to our owner Ben Frank about it, I said, Ben, I'm not really looking to for more work. Like I'm a pretty busy guy, and the NCDC stuff was unfolding, but the thing that really appealed to me was I looked at the school itself, and it is a nationally ranked school. The baseball, football, basketball, they've won national titles. They have MLB, NFL alumni. Um, I did a campus tour. Um, it is among the 10 best schools in the nation. And after doing the campus tour and speaking with the principal Ernie and the AD Vince Brown, I said this is doable. Um, so we are responsible for their U18 prep program. The plan right now is to have a varsity and junior varsity team. We're actively recruiting right now. Um, for me, there's hockey season and then there's recruiting season. And Ryan, I love hockey season a whole lot more than I like recruiting season. So the way I look at this is Bosco, if a guy can go from his freshman year to his senior year, maybe his junior year, and he plays under the Ice Realm umbrella where we're going to share a playbook, systems, expectations, culture, right? If he learns that as a freshman in grade 8, then maybe he needs a year with the Sabres, so the Sabres are our premier affiliate, and then we can plug them into the OJR program. What I'm getting at is it's a way for us to grow hothouse our own products. So rather than reaching out to other AAA coaches or and that'll still be a part of my job and our scouts job and the rest of it. But the idea of having a team where they understand the systems, expectations, culture, the playbook, and we're all on the same page, and you can plug it. I mean, it's essentially the club model that they use in Europe, right? With teams in Sweden and Finland, and I mean, it just makes sense. So, so Bosco is another piece of the puzzle, and we're excited about that opportunity. And for me, the biggest thing is I think that there's a lot of academies, there's a lot of choices for players and parents. There's so much information out there, but I think that if a family looks into what that school offers in terms of the academic side, and then also their facilities, like they have a state-of-the-art baseball field. Their football field is perfect for that high school level. Their library, it's a 37-acre campus in Southern California, which is it's a pretty great opportunity. So
Yeah.
so I'm looking at all those pieces fitting together, and yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, and I think you nailed it there right at the end. You know, the pieces putting it together, and you kind of have this vision for how there is so much potential to put hockey here and make it grow, and then obviously yeah feed into the junior reign system as well. But yeah, some absolute superstar players have come through that school. Nomar Garcia-Parra for the MLB. NFL's had Trent McDuffie, who's just got traded here, but a Super Bowl champion, and you just think about kind of the untapped potential with growing hockey there as well, and definitely going to take some time to build, but something that you're very familiar with as you've kind of built up the junior reign program here over the last few years too, and definitely a credit to what other people see in your abilities to say, hey, we have a guy that we think can kind of take this on and make it something great. So I think that's so awesome for you to be able to touch on that, and continuing to do more. Like you said, you thought you maybe already had a lot on your plate, but then again, you find a way to continue to do more and continue to innovate and do great things in the game of hockey, which is so awesome. So awesome for you to touch on that. I do want to hit on some of the kind of next steps and upcoming showcases and camps for the junior reign. But one more thing I wanted to hit on before we do that I listened back to the last podcast we had back in 2024, and one of the kind of key takeaways I had was you kind of talking about handling rejection, which I think can be something that doesn't always get talked about in the coaching world. You hear it a lot in kind of the sports sales world of handling rejections, overcoming obstacles, things of that nature. But rejection is a big part of the game, and in your role as well as a coach and general manager. And we'd love for you to just be able to share, because I think for anybody in all aspect of sports or any career they're in, that's going to be something you're going to face. So what are some of those kind of key takeaways and lessons, and maybe some advice for other people that are in a position where they may be rejected or handle some adversity, but how have you been able to kind of overcome that in your experiences in your career?
Don't take it personal. Never take it personal. Which is hard because, as a coach, as a human being, I relate a lot of my value or who I am to my profession, right? So it's hard to not take it personal, but there's so many factors that go into a decision like that of, whether there is a fit or there isn't a fit, that a lot of times the person on the receiving end doesn't have that information, right? And it's the same thing I would tell players. You control what you can control. Um, so don't take it personal. And I don't know if this is, I don't know, spiritual or hoo-hoo or whatever you want to call it. But I do think things happen for a reason. I do think you have a tough season. There's going to be important lessons that as a coach you can apply to the following year that your players in the future are going to be better off for it. Um and move on. Like I get told no a bunch. I don't take it personal, and if this isn't the fit for someone, or they don't think it's a fit, that's okay. One of the things about um, the program we've built is I know what value we have. I know what we offer. And if somebody's saying, "Hey, this isn't for me," okay, okay. My guess is it's going to be for somebody else, and that's a good thing, right? It probably wasn't meant to be. So move on. Don't take it personal. Things happen for a reason.
Yeah, totally. That's great words to live by, and appreciate your kind of insight on that aspect of it too, because I think it is sometimes an underrated part that it's easy to kind of on paper be like, oh man, I would love to be a head coach or a general manager, and then you're in that chair and you deal with some of the challenges and the adversity that comes along with it, and how good are you at not taking things personal? Your true character kind of comes out in that situation too, and you've obviously done a great job and have seen consistent results here in the last few years. You can't deny it, and I know there's a lot of great things that are continuing to come up, and that kind of leads me into what is coming up for the junior reign. Would love for you to be able to highlight some of the upcoming showcases that are going to be taking place here this month here in June, and kind of provide some next steps for those people that are listening that want to get involved with the junior reign program, want to continue to advance their game in the sport of hockey. Would love to give you just the time here to showcase some of the upcoming showcases that are going to be taking place that you'll be involved with as well for the junior reign.
So we've got two showcases, the Surf and Turf Showcase. The surf is here in California, and then the turf is in Saskatchewan. So here in Ontario, our home rink, we've got a showcase. We've got Vinny Petrangelo, who's the assistant coach with Robert Morris, NCAA, coming down. Brett Pilkington, the Warman Wolverines head coach, GM, he's coming down. We have a few other local schools that'll be scouting the event as well. And then the following weekend, I'm going to hop in my truck, drive north 26 hours, and then we're going to do the same thing up in Saskatoon. The showcases are going to have two different divisions, one for the high school age group, so that's going to be for the guys that are interested in Bosco Prep, and then there's going to be a junior age group, so that's the 06s to 2008s. Parents, players have lots and lots of options. For me, the value in attending one of our camps is the exposure to those other coaches and programs. But to me, the big value is I run a practice. We got a handful of our returning players coming back. So those players coming in, they get firsthand information as to what a year could look like. And a lot of showcases, the player has a 5-10 minute conversation with the scout or coach in the hallway. And like that, for me, that's not enough information to base, 7-8 months of a hockey season on. So, we encourage the players, the families to, hey, come check things out, get to know me as much as I get to know you. Meet with guys that have played on the team in the past year. And same thing with the parents is talk with a few parents that have been a part of the program. What's the experience like? What are these guys doing away from the rink? All that sort of stuff. Because back to what I said earlier, the more information players and families have, the better they're going to be able to make an educated decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And appreciate you sharing those. We'll also include the links to sign up here in the description of this podcast. For those that are interested, definitely, do your research, look into it, see if it's a right fit for you. And I'm sure you would get a great experience out of it with, what the Junior Reign have done over the last few years has been awesome for me to have been a part of and to follow from afar here over the last few. And I know Coach Blumes is such an integral part of that. He can be a humble guy, but he definitely puts a lot into it. And, his work is seen throughout the entire organization. So really glad and appreciate you highlighting that. And kind of to wrap us up here, Coach Blumes, it's been a ton of fun to catch up and chat with you. But for those people that have listened, that maybe an aspiring head coach or want to become a general manager one day, you've now gained a couple years of experience, in both of those roles. What would you say is some advice towards, getting yourself into that spot later in your career? Like what's something that you've learned here over the last handful of years as someone in that chair itself that you maybe wish you had learned as you were kind of on the rise to your correct career success that maybe somebody else that's a few years behind would get some value out of that you've learned in terms of some advice towards getting there?
It's a good question. I think, what would I tell me 20 years ago, huh?
Go to Israel. I mean, that worked out for you.
Yeah, that was I think embracing the hard. I think that you know, get out of your comfort zone. Um, the it's not going to be easy. There's going to be uncomfortable moments. There's going to be frustration. There's going to be hurt. There's going to be times where, hey, I'm telling you not to take it personal, but you're going to take it personal, and it's how do you get back on that horse, right? So it's a process. You gotta, I think that, you know, we are the sum of our experiences. And I don't know if is it Taoist or that, you know, there is no good or bad, there's just experience. And you got to take those experiences and point them in the right direction to what your objective is. Um, I think being open-minded is real important, having a growth mindset. And then the other part of that is having conviction that what you're doing or the way you're doing it, you know, believing in yourself. So like there's a fine line between um there's a fine line between having that growth mindset and also being confident in your own process, right? Read lots. Um, the more information, the better. Again, that's also, you know, trust your own process. Anytime one of my coaching friends and guys I bounce things off of the most is Tyler Drader, who coaches State. And one of the best pieces of advice, you know, he ever gave me, and it was um, after a beer league hockey game in the parking lot, and we were having some pops, was, you know, always trust your gut. Um, so there, I mean, there's a handful, and um, it's I'm a really lucky guy, Ryan. Like I'm living the dream. You know, I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking about how I improve my hockey program, and I go to sleep and usually I'm thinking the same thing. Like I'm doing the thing that I love doing. Um, I think it requires somebody that is dedicated, is committed, and is gonna put the time in most of all, right?
Yeah.
So I realized I was kind of all over the place with that question, but it's not there's not one simple um, you know, route, and I don't think for any one guy it's going to be a straight line.
Mhm.
There's going to be some twists and turns.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think there's tons to take away. And what was kind of going on in my head while you're talking about that is just persistence too. Like you're gonna have those twists and turns, ups and downs, but ability to fight through it, being committed towards what you know and what you're passionate about, and not letting anything get in your way even when that adversity hits. And I think that's it's definitely something that I've taken from observing your work, and obviously getting to work with you as well in my career too. So appreciate you sharing that. And I know there's a lot of people out there that, yeah, like you said, they're trying to grind to get to your spot, at some point in their career. And, it's awesome that you're able to reflect and think that too, that, you're in a great spot and you want to continue to stay there too. So finding ways to improve your hockey program in the morning, late at night, while you're on the ice, it's all very valid and helps make an impact over the long run. So it's been a ton of fun to hear, the updates with the junior reign, and, thinking back to how things started. So appreciate again you taking the time to chat with us here on the podcast. And we know that a lot of our listeners will enjoy following up. As mentioned, we'll include the links to the showcases coming up here for the junior reign here in the description of this podcast. So we definitely encourage you all to take a look at those. And we'll be back again with a new podcast here tomorrow for Front Office U Friday. So thanks again, everybody, for making all the way through, and to Coach Blumes for joining us again. Always a ton of fun and a great conversation. So we're glad that you guys, the listeners, made it all the way through to this point. So we'll be back again with that new podcast tomorrow. Be sure to tune in.